Hare Krishna. We wish you a very happy and prosperous New Year 2021 with the blessings of Shishi Krishna Balaram, Shishi Gaurnita Shri Prabhupada. May everyone be blessed by their lordships so that their life brings about new interesting journeys and pleasing memories for this year and years to come. We will begin with a small prayer before we talk about New Year resolutions, which all of us are eager to make some resolutions in our life. But how do we sustain those resolutions and achieve the resolutions end? Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So as the new year begins, we are with full of hope and energy for something positive to happen in our life. Everybody is desiring change in life, change in the world's scenario from the fiasco which has happened last year, and let that be in the past. And so many wrongdoings might have happened, let that be of the past. How do we bring in a new era of hope? And therefore, if this is the thought process, then it is extremely important that we require the help and support and hands of God. God should play a direct role in my life to make a sea to change. It's like if anything big one has to do, then one should do something big for something big to happen. And for that, doing something big, you really require support from somebody, something. Then you can fare well, do big. We're all very tiny, very small. Look at the creation. You come out of your house and come onto the street, or go to the top of your house, onto the veranda or the terrace. Go to your terrace and then look at the sky. So vast. And then you can Google at the cosmos and where the earth is positioned. We are so small. But we desire to do something nice, something big. How do we do that? We are so small. So you take the help of the big man. You can do things big. And that big man is the Supreme Lord. And that Supreme Lord is always willing to offer us, give us all counsel, guidance, help, everything at his disposal. But we have to approach him. Just like you want a better job, better career growth, good opportunities, then you have to select a good company, a big company. which is very promising, a great place to work, isn't it? And then to get into the job, you really have to work for it. It's not going to come easy. You have to work for it. We're always trying to better or improve our relationships, our careers, our goals, our destinations, so on and so forth. And in our individual fields also, in our education, in sports, in every field we want to improve, show improvement, mark improvement. They're all small things, but you want to make a see-through change. Then you require to do something else. Just like they say, from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 is fine. But suppose somebody wants to jump from 2 to 50 or 2 to 100, that makes a very big difference. That's not going to happen. 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 is a linear growth. Most people can achieve it. But somebody wants to go from 2 to 100, and that's the challenge. It's not going to be easy. So Prabhupada gave a very nice example. Swami Prabhupada, the founder of Acharya of Iskcon, gave a very nice example. Just like if you catch on to suppose you are riding a bicycle and then you catch on to a motor vehicle, you cling on to a motor vehicle, then you run at that speed. No one the bicycle speed. Suppose you take your cycle and put it on top of the car, a big car, then you will be running at that speed, not your bicycle speed, isn't it? It becomes effortless. Suppose you are sitting in an airplane, you will be running at the speed of airplane, traveling the speed of airplane. You just got to sit in the airplane. You will travel at airplane speed, 1,000 kilometers per hour, etc., or even more than that. You don't have to do anything, isn't it? In few hours, you will reach UK, you will reach America, while if you travel by foot, it may take months. So your speed is increased multifold just by sitting on an aeroplane, isn't it? Similarly, our efficiency, our success, our growth depends on where we have landed up, whose support we have taken. That's like if you see in the Forbes magazine, if you see Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Apple, all these companies, these are all in the top 10. And then if you place yourself in one of those companies, your position also is very much raised, upraised automatically. By the very virtue of being in that company, your position is automatically raised. Similarly, if we have to raise up in life, we require the help and support of somebody big, not by our individual effort. Our individual effort is one count, not the only count. The final count is the hands of God, the grace of God, as we say. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is very nicely described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. What are the factors which lead to the successful execution of a work? Because we all resolve to do so many things, but most of the things don't happen. Few things happen. Or to some person it happens, some degree it happens, some degree it does not happen. When it happens, There is success, there is applause. It doesn't happen, there is dejection or depression, isn't it? But we are just mute spectators. We really don't know what's going on. Why I am successful, why I am not successful. We really have no answer for most of the times. Because Krishna describes the signs of the successful execution of an action in the Bhagavad Gita in this way, in two nice verses in the 18th chapter. Krishna says, Panchaitani Mahabaho Karanani Nibodhame Sankhye Kritante Puroktani Siddhaye Sarva Karmana. Krishna says, Panchaitani Mahabaho Karanani Nibodhame. Mahabaho, O mighty armed Arjuna, there are 5 factors of action. Panchaitani Mahabaho Karanani Nibodhame. Sankhye Kritante Puroktani Siddhaye Sarva Karmanam. And it is said that all activities, Sarva Karmanam Siddhaye, to achieve its success, these 5 factors are fundamental. And what are they? Adhishtanam tata karta karanani karanam cha pritak vidam vividascha pritak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. So these are the 5 factors behind every work and its success and completion. And what is that? Krishna is saying, Adhishtanam, the place of work. Tata karta, the doer, the performer. Karanam means the senses. We have 10 senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses and 5 working senses, like the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. These are knowledge acquiring senses. We acquire knowledge through these senses. And 5 working senses: voice, then hands, legs, the private organs, so then the mouth. So like that we have 5 working senses through which we get all the work done. First of all, we acquire knowledge how to do the work, and to execute the work, we have other set of senses. So you get to know what to do, and then you execute it. Therefore, we have 5 plus 5, 10 senses. And all these senses are directed by the 11th sense called the mind. So mind is the director of all these 10 senses. So the doer. So therefore, there's a person who's doing all these things. Above the mind is the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the ego or the proper soul, who's actually the doer, getting the things done with the help of these 11 senses. All of us, we are desiring, willing, thinking, so many things, and all these things are fulfilled by taking the help of these 11 senses. So adhishtanam tata kartha karanam. So we saw the place of work, then the doer, then the senses, karanam cha pritak vidham, then vividascha pritak cheshta, different kinds of efforts, what goes into a completion of a work or an action or an activity or a task or a goal. Could be in any field, could be in sports, could be in studies, could be in any field, in achieving anything, executing your job, your project. Vividascha pritak cheshta, be put in varieties of efforts. And finally, after doing all these things, daivam chaivatra panchamam, the 5th and the ultimate factor is Daivam, the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna. So after all the efforts, sometimes still we see there are no results. Things don't seem to be moving. Why? Finally, the Lord's sanctioned mercy is important, isn't it? Otherwise, nothing moves. Just like we see in the country, we may The government may pass a bill, but finally, the parliament, the governor, have to give their assent. They have to give their sanction. So there is a sanctioning authority for everything, isn't it? It is not that anything is whimsically coming up in the society as a rule, as an act. No, there are authorizing authorities. Unless they authorize, no bill will become an ordinance. Similarly, any work, if it has to succeed, the Lord's hand is the ultimate fact. Ultimately, he has to sanction. Just like in a company, there is the good boss. Everything has to go through him. Finally, any sanction has to go through him, isn't it? Otherwise, nothing will move. Finally, he has to sanction. In a government system, at least in India, we have the caseworker in every department. Any department you take, we have the caseworker at the lowest level. Then in the executive level, we have the undersecretary, then the deputy secretary, then the principal secretary, then the chief secretary. Sometimes there is additional chief secretary or additional principal secretary also. Then we have the governor, we have the chief minister. So we have this hierarchy, isn't it? At every level, your paper has to move and the signature is needed. And finally, the principal secretary or the chief secretary's signature is highly important for passing any document. So there's a hierarchy in authority structure. Similarly, ultimate hand is God's. If his sanction is there, you don't have to go through this hierarchy at all. Just like the chief secretary signs, then everybody else will fall in line, right from the principal secretary up to the caseworker. Everybody will have to give their nod. If the governor says something, then whatever procedural things to be followed will happen as a consequence. Interesting, isn't it? Similarly, if we have the grace of the Supreme Lord, everything will align itself. And you will see that everything is happening in my life. Everything seems to be moving in my life progressively because the top man has already graced and sanctioned. So that's a very important point in our life. How do we get to meet the top man? Not going to be easy. Generally, even in our experience, to meet a big man is very difficult. How do we meet him? And to connect ourselves with the Supreme Lord is the secret of all success in life. He is the single sanctioner of everything that be in this world. And ultimately, sanction matters. Upadrishtana manta cha bharta bhokta maheshwara parmatme picha apyukta. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has said, Upadrishtana manta cha bharta bhokta maheshwara. I am the ultimate sanctioner of all activities and the witness of all activities. So when his stamping is there, everything is perfect, nothing to worry. You get a letter from a prime minister about a certain project, that's it. Nobody is going to scrutinize it anymore. You just produce that paper anywhere and everywhere. You just keep moving forward. That's all, isn't it? But otherwise, for all the permissions and for that, all kinds of scrutiny and analysis, and still you will not get your project through. But the prime minister has given a certificate or a recommendation letter, and that's it. No questions asked, isn't it? So these things are important for us to note in life. So, similarly, if the Lord's hand is there, everything is cleared. All hurdles in life are cleared. Otherwise, we make resolutions, but it's going to be difficult. Just like we have experience in a normal life. We all know either in the field of getting a job or getting a seat in an engineering college or a professional college, it's all going to be quite difficult. Or in civil services exam, lakhs of people write, but there are very few IAS, IRS, IFS seats. But lakhs, tens of lakhs appear. Such a tough competition. Very few will get the seat. And in that also, after you crack the written exam, then there is interview. Sometimes there is level 1, level 2. Even examination levels also, there is level 1 exam, level 2, level 3 exam. And the interview, there's level 1, level 2, level 3 sometimes. Based on the competitive nature or nature of the job, of the profile. It's going to be quite difficult, isn't it? Even in examinations, tens of lakhs of students write engineering and medicine gate exams. A few thousands are picked up. Even in chartered accountancy, tens of lakhs of students across the country write. The pass percent is just about 5 to 7%. That's all, isn't it? So it's quite challenging. Even the ordinary things are quite challenging. And then we may attempt to meet a big man to get a big favor. But even to get a small favor is so difficult. And to meet a big man, hoping to get a big favor, how much more difficult it's going to be, isn't it? You will meet this man, this contact, that reference, this reference. From this person, connect to another person, another person. Finally, somewhere in the middle, we may get stuck. We may not, probably we may get stuck up, and then all the promises are vain. So many people will tell this, tell that. I will take you, he will take you. How is it possible? Finally, they may mislead you, isn't it? So it's not easy. But then if you are able to get to meet the big man, then your job is done. Of course, he must be favorable. Otherwise, that also becomes another challenge. All the efforts becomes wasted. But in our case, the greatest advantage and hope is the Supreme Lord is our loving, well-wishing friend. The eternal loving, well-wishing friend. Not this life, every life. He is our eternal, well-wishing friend. Supreme, well-wishing friend. And that's the great news for all of us and great hope for all of us. In the Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, Lord Krishna says, Suhridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim pritchati. And the supreme well-wishing friend of every living being, Krishna is saying. There's no discrimination of God for God towards any jiva, any living being. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dvesho astina priyaha. Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktiya maite teshu chapyaham. In the 9th chapter of the Gita, Krishna has declared openly, instilling so much confidence in everyone, not a select few. And what is that? I'm equal to everyone, Krishna is saying. Everybody can equally approach me and get my favor. Just that you got to approach me, Krishna is saying. And I'm willing to reciprocate. So, when God comes into picture, every obstacle is moved away from your path. It may be very, very big for you, but not for God. Isn't it? What problem is for me may not be for somebody else. It may be just like that. Just like the question paper, when it is given to you, for you it is quite difficult. But for the teacher, just nothing. Who has set the question paper? It's just a small job. You may be working out a complex mathematical problem and getting heated up. not able to resolve. But then you go to a maths expert, it's an MSc or a PhD in mathematics. Oh, this is no big deal. In 2 minutes, he will solve the problem. He will solve the equation. So, what is difficult for you is not necessarily difficult for somebody else. And as far as the Supreme Lord is concerned, all puzzles and riddles are easily solved by the Lord. There is no such thing as an obstacle for the Lord. For the Lord, there is no obstacle, there is no problem. So we have to approach Him. This example is sometimes given, very nice example. We all have experienced. Suppose the chief minister or the prime minister comes to your town, comes to your city. Imagine all the road blocks, traffic is clear for the convoy to pass freely, isn't it? But when I am driving a vehicle, at every junction I have to stop because of the signal, traffic signal. They're not going to change the signal from red to green just because your vehicle came. But when the prime minister vehicle comes, all the signals are switched off or stopped. He has a free move. Why? Because he leads the country or he leads the state, the chief minister. Similarly, when we have Lord in the front, and the Lord is leading, all our path filled with obstacles, even if so, is removed and cleared off. That is the advantage of connecting with God. I remember one of the devotees told me this actual thing which happened. This is more than 12 to 13 years back. The early 2000. They were going to Tirumala Tirupati. And somehow they didn't know, after they started the journey from Bangalore, going towards Tirumala, looks like the chief minister was on his way to Tirumala. Therefore, all the roads were blocked for the chief minister's easy passage. What happened, interestingly, all the vehicles were stopped, but the devotee was little intelligent. Somehow he could sneak through, and then when the police stopped the vehicle, he said, No, I am part of that convoy. Then he thought, oh, maybe it must be possible anyway. So, and then they left this vehicle also along with the chief minister's convoy of vehicles. And then he also drove the vehicle and reached Tirumala along with the chief minister. No checks, no stops. All free. Becomes a free zone. Isn't it? So the actual thing which happened some years back. He was sharing with me. So I was very impressed. So then I could relate that instance with what Swami Prabhupada said. That we have a big man, no hurdles, no worries. Everything is clear. So it is described just like in a kingdom. In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is described. In the context of describing the mind to Arjuna, Lord Krishna said, the mind can be the best friend or the worst enemy. Bandhur atmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve varte tatme shatruvat. For all our resolutions, the biggest friend is our mind. The biggest enemy of not achieving our resolutions is also the same mind. Mind is the best friend and also the enemy of the living being, is what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita. Then how do you make our mind our friend? Because friend means he always supports, assists, Enemy means always opposites, opposite force. Always opposes our idea, our growth, our progress. That is enemy. The concept of friend and enemy is this much and nothing more. So, if you're always living with a person who's always opposing your plans, that's going to be quite difficult. Sometimes we see in a company we're working, constantly somebody is pushing me down, not allowing me to grow, to progress, to present my work to the superior authority. He's covering up all those things, or he takes off the credit. I would have worked and he would have presented the project report. All these things keep happening. So, in such companies, in such association, you cannot grow. But then, if you have a very good friend or a good team lead, he will support. Oh, very good article. Oh, very good presentation. Very good job. Very good graph you have made. Very good planning you have done. I will take this to the higher management and seek their recommendation and support to you for your promotion, etc. If somebody is your friend, isn't it? So, like that, Krishna is saying, actually, there's no friend and enemy outside our mind for our success or failure. We are ourselves the cause of our success and failure. And when we say we, who is that? Particularly, Krishna said, it is the mind. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmanajitaha anatmanatu shatrutve vatre varte tatmaiva shatruvat. But Krishna just doesn't talk about the problem, he also gives the solution. This is a good part in the Bhagavad Gita or about the Lord. Whenever a problem is presented, a solution is also provided. So Krishna is saying further, if you control the mind, you live with the best of friends. If you fail to control your mind, you live with a deadly enemy. Every day fighting. Just like to achieve anything, as I said, you require the help of the mind and 10 senses to achieve anything. But then if they don't cooperate with you, your body doesn't cooperate, your mind is always agitated, disturbed, always distracting you from the work. You cannot concentrate on a work for more than 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Today, one of our devotees was saying, today people have become so restless, 2 to 3 minutes, that's all. You cannot give the attention span is very less. It's all because of uncontrolled minds, agitated minds, or disturbed minds, dissatisfied, discontented minds. How do you address these things? How do you address discontentment, dissatisfied minds? It is nothing outside, it is all within. The wiring is within. You have to train the mind to become satisfied with what is given by the Lord's grace. This is the secret of remaining satisfied and contented. It's not a question of what you get, it's a question of how you remain satisfied with what has come to you. So that is a very important secret Krishna has revealed in the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the story of Lord Vamanadeva, Lord Vamanadeva said, when Bali Maharaj said to Vamana, my dear Brahmin, how is it that you are happy with only 3 steps of land? You asked me 3 steps of land as donation. And then, of course, I'm the king of all 3 worlds. These 3 steps mean nothing for me. No time I can just bestow you those 3 steps of land. But then, think about it. Oh, young Brahmin, looks like you're not wise to ask me properly. Probably your intelligence is not mature. Lord Vamana said, no, my dear king, I have well thought. If I have not trained my mind to remain satisfied with 3 steps of land, then even if I get the 3 worlds, I will remain dissatisfied. Because the cause of satisfaction and dissatisfaction is controlled mind. The mind is uncontrolled. Any amount of achievement, you will remain dissatisfied. You will still be wanting more, more, more. And if your mind is trained, controlled, sober, then you can be satisfied with whatever has come by the grace of God. Yadricha labha santushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha. The Bhagavad Gita, again Lord Krishna says, Yadricha labha santushtaha. Yadricha, whatever comes of its own accord, meaning by God's grace, learn to become satisfied. Count your blessings. So much the Lord has provided to us. So much the Lord has provided. Thank the Lord with your heart and be happy to what you are. Thank the Lord. So many things God has gifted us. Why remain dissatisfied? Why remain dissatisfied? So many things God has given us in this world, in our life, wonderful things. Just like, I remember one doctor was telling me this. One friend of mine was telling me this story. Story means, I mean to say, an actual instance. A very interesting instance. That one poor man was admitted to a hospital and he had some breathing problem, severe respiratory infection and problem. And then the diagnosis showed that he has to get operated immediately. But that would cost lakhs of rupees. But he was a poor man, could not afford. So he expressed that to the doctor. Doctor said, no problem, don't worry. We will discuss that, let the operation happen. So the doctor was very kind enough and he did the operation, was successful. And then the patient recovered from the respiratory infection. So breathing became normal. So that was good news for the poor man. Then the relatives came, family members came. There is a simultaneous factor of joy and sorrow in their faces. Hope you have got the point. The joy because the father or the husband has recovered. But the sorrow is that who's going to pay the fee? So then they hesitantly, first of all, they thanked the doctor profusely, including the poor man and the family members. Then they said, doctor, the bill cost about 3.5 lakh rupee. But then, don't have to worry, I am waiving it off for you. So they were quite hesitant, but actually the doctor waived it off, understanding the condition of the poor man. He was very kind and courteous. Then the poor man was surprised. He was taken aback. He said, but why? Why me? Why you chose me? Why you are waiving off this bill? What makes you waive off this bill? What did I do to you? How am I connected to you, related to you? Why so much mercy? The doctor said that actually, I have come up in a hard way in my life, through many struggles in my life. But by God's grace, today, I am what I am. He said, just give all the praise to God, all the credit to God. Because imagine, for setting right your respiratory system, it costed 3.5 lakh rupee. Imagine from your birth, how many times you count your breath. From your birth, you count your breath. How many times you have breathed air? Have you paid for it? Do you remember? Have you kept a count? An account of how many times you have breathed the air? Have you paid for it sufficiently? We've not even thought about that. How you are so thankful to me, but how we are so ungrateful to the Lord. We've not even thought about it. How merciful and graceful the Lord is. not even expecting anything from us, including thank you. How noble the Lord is, sublime the Lord is, isn't it? How kind the Lord is, and still He is continuing to supply. Therefore, my mercy and grace is very, very limited and little in front of God's grace. God has also put me in this position today that I'm able to help you out. So, my dear friends, our humble request is on this um, eve of the new year. Let us remember God and the blessings and the grace of God upon us. There's just one such example I'm quoting to you. How much we're benefiting from God. And keeping God in front, as I described, all obstacles are out of your way. Out of your way. In fact, there are some uh, quite a few striking statements from Nobel laureates, just like the founder of quantum theory, Planck, Dr. Planck. He said that let the Supreme Lord. He wrote a letter to his friend, and I'm just quote unquote from that letter. Let the Supreme Lord protect us and give us all strength till the world comes to an end. This is what Dr. Planck said. Hmm? Nobel laureate. One more Nobel laureate, Charles Towne, the inventor of laser. We all know laser, the inventor of laser. He said, to me, God is the only source of my strength and all findings. The last quote from Einstein, very interesting quote. He said that the more I study the Supreme Lord, the more I believe in His existence. Next, underline. But they quote me to say there is no God, and I am angry about that. So, my dear friends, God is invariably involved in our life. Although we may distance Him, He never distances us. And we always think, oh God, let our prayers reach you up in the sky. Hope my prayers are heard by you. All such statements we make. But one important point is just like the father and mother, they're always eager that their children achieve success, achieve victory, isn't it? And then they grow up to great heights in life. They're always desirous. And why will they put a block or a hurdle? Similarly, sometimes we think why things are not moving, why God is not sanctioning. Nothing like that. God is very hopeful and very desirous because we're all God's children. Cutting across caste, creed, religion barriers, all of us are God's children. You may call him Krishna, Christ, Allah, all the same. So he is very desirous for our progress. Very desirous of our progress, very, very eager. He wants all success for us. So he wants all success for us. So when our prayers are not answered, then that means please wait. Because God wants to give you the best. God wants to give you the best and have full confidence. So, therefore, you make resolutions. And the first resolution must be first things first, as the saying goes. God must be the first important priority in my life. Then there'll be equal reciprocation. But if you put God in the list, you have put God in the queue. Instead of me being in the queue, you have put God in the queue. Okay, I'll come to you later. After finishing up all the other options in my life, I'll go to my friend, my neighbor, my officer, this help, that help. Everybody will finish up and exhaust all the options. And last in the queue is God. Instead of putting God in the first. You see, that's the mistake we are making. Turn the whole equation in resolution. God is the first in your life. Therefore, begin the day. Yeah, you want to begin the day with success? God is all success. So chant God's name. Remember God. Take God's advice in the form of Bhagavad Gita. Read some 5 verses every day. Chant one round of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, at least 108 times. Chant and hear loudly like this. So chant God's name and begin your day instead of with rubbish newspapers. Of course, no doubt some good news is there, but otherwise it's not worth the reading, except for the news part. What's going on in your society, in the country, in the world at large. Except for that, there's no worth in reading a newspaper. Rather, read God's words. It's filled with knowledge and wisdom. If you don't read, you will never grow in life. Read big man's work. Your thinking also rises big, becomes big. And God is the biggest man. So read God's words. Your thinking becomes goes to very high level, high scale. So keep company with God by reading His words and chant God's name to keep direct connection and association. And depend on God. This is called Sharanagati. Depending on God as the provider, sustainer of everything, which is the fact. He's the provider and sustainer of everything. So you approach Him, strike relationship with Him, which you already have, but you have distanced. So revive that lost connection with God. Prabhupada said, make your appointment with God today, now. So like that, life will change, my dear friends. So there is always hope, particularly when God is there in your life. Krishna is there in your life, there is great hope possible. So therefore, we would conclude by saying, please chant God's name, read Bhagavad Gita, at least 5 verses with translation purport, and the Iskcon publication written by Swami Prabhupada. They are the original works of Vyasadeva, written in local languages also. So we recommend and request you to kindly take a copy of that if you don't have, and see the life change. It's a 700 formula book. You see, 700 formula book for your life. Everything is covered about your life in that. So thank you so much for your kind, patient hearing, and wish you a very happy and prosperous New Year once again with the blessings of Krishna Balaram, Gaurithai, and Swami Prabhupada. Okay. This is a short question from one of the participants, Mr. Karant. Hare Krishna, Mr. Karant. How an atheist becomes successful in life without blessings of Supreme Lord? An atheist requires the blessings of the Supreme Lord. No success is possible without the Lord's sanction. Just like, then you may wonder, next question I will put for you. Probably you may want to ask also, but how is it that the Lord is sanctioning an atheist's move? Very simple. The Lord is very, very kind, very merciful. Deena Dayal, Karuna Sindhu, ocean of mercy, ocean of compassion. He is full of compassion. We are all His children. So the example is given like this. Suppose there's a parent and they have 2 children. One is very good, obedient. One is very naughty. Sometimes it happens. Some children are very naughty. But still, the parents are equally encouraging both the children. They give equal opportunity to both the children. They divide their property and write the will equally to both the children. Not that just because one child is naughty and he goes to hell. No. He's given all the fair and equal opportunity and all the fair and equal love as given to the good son, even to the naughty son. Similar, Lord's equanimity is like that. He is equal to all. His blessings is for all, hoping that one day He will come my way. He will recognize my mercy, my support. How all the while I have been supporting Him, even if He was not recognizing that earlier. One day wisdom will dawn upon Him that I had been always supporting Him. Journeying along with Him in all His hardships and failures and successes, journeying with him as Paramatma. And that is a fact. One day, the wise soul will surrender unto the Lord. Bahunam janmanamante jnanaman mam prapadyate. Many, many lifetimes pass, finally one may surrender unto God, knowing Him, the supreme cause of everything. Getting to know He is my supreme friend, best well wishing friend. So, like that. So, God is very, very merciful. So, thank you so much for your kind participation. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.